Alright, welcome guys. Today I'm going to be taking a look at a variation on how to draw the human form. I've mentioned before in some of my tutorials that the human face and the hands are the hardest thing to draw, and the reason being is that when you look in the mirror to fix your hair or whatever, you start noticing all the little details. And our brains are highly sensitive to being able to see the slightest and most subtle of emotions in people. It helps us in communication. And hands are very hard to draw because we see them all the time too, whether we're looking down at our hands or whether we're just watching hand signals. So how do you get to be able to draw the human figure that incorporates the hands, the head, and the entire very complex human skeleton? I have here just a drawing I found online about the human skeleton, and we're going to be tackling a simplified version of that I teach my 6th graders. Once you get into 6th grade and you're realizing through the blocking process that you can draw almost anything, you want to know the next step is to how do you draw people. And 6th grade is a perfect grade that once you feel confident with your skills, you can start drawing the human figure, but I call it the robot skeleton. So robot skeleton, here we go. The robot skeleton, as with any drawing, you're going to have a top and a bottom. And the reason why you start with the top and the bottom is that you can figure out, later on it's important as an advanced drawer so you can fit it into a specific frame. And as a beginner, it's just important because you want to know a few things about the figure. If I have a top and I have a bottom and I guess where the middle is, of course I will measure that, and let's see, it's going to be right about here, and I will mark that off to the side over here. Here's my top, here's my bottom, here's my middle, and half of a half is a quarter, and half of a quarter is an eighth. So when you're drawing the figure right off the bat, I know a few things. In general, there's something called the 8-head rule or 7-head rule. And what that means is that the human head is going to be 1/7 to 1/8 the overall height of the body. And we're going to consider that. This is for an adult. With a baby, it would be a much larger ratio, and females tend to have a larger head in a relationship to their body in general. Smaller frames, they're not as tall, and they will have maybe the same size head but on a smaller frame. The ratio makes it a little bit bigger. This is a generalization. It's not really a rule, it's a generalization. It's a good way to get us started. So right off the bat, top, bottom, middle, 1/2, 1/4, 1/8, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and put in the hips. And the hips I'm going to put right around here. Okay? And it's just a guess. And I do know that the spine is going to go straight up and down if I'm looking at a person. By the way, we're looking right at this person as if they were facing us. In fact, like maybe I'll draw this skeleton, I'll convert it into like the Old West. It's a shootout and I'm just looking dead at this person, just right at him. So here's the hips, skeleton comes up. Let's get the head in. I know it's about going to be an 8. If you want to make it a little lower, roughly a 1/7 or so, you can. I'm going to put an oval in. This breaks a lot of my rules about only using straight lines, but right now what we're doing is trying to figure out the skeleton. It's a concept. So whether you do, put the chin somewhere in here. Alright, so here's the chin. And I do want to keep my lines pretty clean so that everything is, I'm not pressing too hard. I'm using an HB pencil. This is sketch paper. And then the spine comes up and down. I want to leave room for a neck. The neck has 7 bones. And then you have the actual spine and the body. And to simplify that body, we're going to draw, you may have seen this in books somewhere. It's sort of a tapered barrel shape. And this is an important shape. Okay? And the width of the hips are going to pretty much match. I've seen things where people draw like X's and that would be where the belly button is, and there's all kinds of fancy things and formulas. But rather than rely on tricks, I want you guys to understand how this skeleton works. Of course, you have a skeleton at your availability at any time. It's you. So let's go ahead and take a look at the next step. So there's the hips. This is the torso, the body, the barrel, and the spine. Okay. And now we're going to take a look at where the legs connect. And the legs connect down here. Okay. This is where we have a connection of the hip, the pelvis, into the femur. The femur is going to drop down. How far? Well, let's just go with generalizations again. And the distance halfway between these 2 points is a great place to put a knee. So I'll put a little circle here. On all my joints, I'm going to put circles here. In fact, I can do a couple more too while I'm drawing these joints. Another one's going to be out here. Now keep in mind that these come out a bit further. The skeleton, as you look at it, in general, when you have a skeleton, you have a clavicle. The clavicle is a bone that comes out. You have that little dip in the throat right here. And then if you follow out that bone to your shoulder, that's your clavicle. It almost acts like a suspension. If any of you know anything about cars or dune buggies, or you've seen anything about cars, you're going to know that suspension pivot up and down. And that clavicle helps keep the shoulder in a range of motion. Because if you're shrugging, the shoulder's way up here. I don't know what's going on. And if you're standing at attention or you're relaxed, it's going to be down here. So, for the sake of this drawing, we're going to have the shoulder down here. Alright, now, getting back to the legs, let's talk about, this is the femur on both of them. The femurs come down to, there's 2 bones that lead from the knee straight down to the foot. And you have the tibia and the fibula. And don't worry too much about names, but I'm going to draw one line here. And the reason why I'm going to draw one line is because this bone, this area right here, that's your shin bone. That's what you're protecting when you play soccer. That is what hurts when you accidentally kick something. And it is it's just one of the 2 bones there. But that's your shin bone. And when I'm drawing the foot, I'm going to actually go ahead and demonstrate something about the human figure when you're drawing it. It's better if you don't know what you're doing, or you're confused, or when in doubt, I want you to make the legs longer. Because if you make the legs too short, you end up with a disproportionate human body. If the legs are really short, you have kind of a cartoon character, maybe the thug, maybe it's a dwarf, little person, and unless that's your intention, you want to make sure that your legs are long enough. So a good way to do that is to just over-exaggerate the legs. So when in doubt, make them too long. Alright, and so the feet, I'm going to draw the feet as triangles. And they're going to go a little bit below my line here. Okay. The big toe would be here. Little toes would be out here. And the heel would be behind, so it's facing me. Alright, so we're missing the arms now. So as a rule of thumb, if you stand up, you find your elbow, and you try to, if you lean over and kind of bend your spine, you can actually hit the top of your hip. This is your hip bone here. And your hip bone sticks out a little bit on your frame. It's near where you put your belt, when you put a belt on for your jeans. And you'll find that your elbow is somewhere in this range here. And that means that the humerus, which is a pretty big bone too, is going to be that long. Okay? And you have 2 more bones that come from the elbow straight down, and they're going to be the same. So if you've covered it in math, I don't know if math is still the same, but you have, this line means the equal to. So the distance from here to here is basically equal. Basically. I'm not splitting hairs here. I'm basically saying it's going to be the same. And so now I'm going to say that the same thing with this arm. This arm here, the distance from the shoulder to the elbow is going to be the same from the elbow to the wrist. And so the wrist actually falls about that far down. And for simplicity's sake, I'm just going to draw a triangle. Okay? And if I want this guy to be maybe holding a bird or holding a book, or I don't know, maybe he's just holding a soft drink, then I'm going to go ahead and just take that length, and I can just pivot it out. And maybe the wrist is here. Okay? And he's holding, let's have him hold a cup of coffee. I don't know why you'd ever hold a cup of coffee that way, but that's what's going on here. And the hand is going to be, if it's in a fist, it's going to be closer to a rectangle. As for the hands, if you put the palm of your hand against your chin and you reach up, you should be able to hit your hairline, kids. Adults, some of you guys, their hairlines may be receding, but kids, for the most part, the width from the chin to here, that's the length of the hand. Hands are pretty big. Even if you're a small person, your hand's going to be pretty big in relation to the rest of you. So I'm going to say that the hand is about that long here. This is your robot skeleton. He's facing me. So what does that mean in terms of what we're trying to do here? Well, if a lot of the site size drawing that we're doing in the block-in boot camp that we're creating, it's really about trying to be able to get hand-eye coordination, to get an outline, and then make a drawing to have it look like something. But to be a good artist and to draw from your imagination, I believe that it's really important to have an understanding of the framework. And with human, the framework is the skeleton. So let's take a look now at what this guy looks like if we were to change. There's a lateral view, they're calling it here. Anterior and lateral. Or, dead on and profile view. Oh, I said I was going to make this guy a cowboy, didn't I? Well, we can do that real quick too before I jump on. So let's do that. This guy is going to be a cowboy. His arms are going to be out, elbows here, maybe they're coming in, and I will draw the hand like that. Just ready to draw. So he's just ready to go. This would be the skeleton of my cowboy. There may be a little bit more of a stance and bend in the knee, so he's ready to, pretend he can dodge bullets and tuck and roll. So let's go ahead and draw our lateral view, profile view. So the head is I'm just going to bring these lines straight over. I'm going to bring the torso straight over. I'm going to bring the hips straight over. Same with the knees and the bottom of the feet. So now I have some ruled lines that I can use. The head, I'll just do an oval. A good thing to do with the head, if you want to look at it from a profile view, doesn't work all the time. You're going to find a lot of videos of people showing you this general formula. I like it. Basically, you're going to put a circle at the top here. Close to a good circle you can draw, and the face will come down and the jaw comes up. Okay? Because where are the eyes on this guy? Eyes are in the middle of the head. Then you have the nose shape, and then you have the mouth shadow. So that translates over here. Eyes, nose, mouth. And then as it's sideways, our spine, we do not walk around like robots, even though I call it the robot skeleton, and we have a lot of movement in our spine. And if you can see this line here, you can see it's really curved. It goes in and out. So the neck will come out, and then it comes over, and then it drops, and then it comes out. And this drawing shows a little bit more. If we hadn't evolved and we still had tails, it would shoot out here. But we don't have tails, so what we're gonna have is this. This is your rib cage, and your rib cage here, as you can see here, is kind of rounded. More important than rounded is scale, so I want you guys to kind of make sure it doesn't go too far out. Okay, even if you're trying to draw like a big dude who's just, I don't know, sitting there winning a hot dog eating contest or something cliche. This is the rib cage, and the rib cage protects the organs on the inside. So you have, the throat comes down, the heart's going to be around here, and then you have the esophagus that comes down to the stomach, leading around to different organs, into the upper or the large intestine and the small intestine. So down here is where you have a lot of movement, because the hip is going to be at this angle here. So right away I can see there's a difference in my robot skeleton in the core. Obviously there's going to be some more thickness to the neck and everything, but again, I'm just simplifying this robot skeleton. This is kind of a strange S curve. Think of this part here as an S. S. And then it comes up, and your neck and your head is all up here. Okay, maybe even further out. So let me clean up my lines a little bit with what I got here, and think if I can remember any questions that students have asked me about our guy so far. Again, the eyes, the nose there, shadows, and the mouth. Okay, so let's get on with the next component, which are going to be the limbs. And with the limbs we have, let's go ahead and get the legs on there. So the legs are going to be, the leg muscles are going to be here, support the weight. This is a huge bone. The femur comes all the way down to the knee. Okay. And I'm going to draw a little line out here because if I'm standing up, I can feel my knee. In fact, when you are kind of checking the skeleton on yourself, any bone that sticks out, anything that you can feel is kind of hard, is going to be a bone that relates to the skeleton. So you can use it as a way to kind of check and say, as you learn how to draw. Of course, anatomy books or model references are a great way too. So let's go ahead and get the shin bone in here, which is the tibia and the fibula, and that'll drop into the feet. In this case, I'm going to draw the feet like this. Again, how long do I make that foot? It's not a clown shoe. It shouldn't be longer than the foot, the head, like I did. So if I'm going from where the hairline would be, it's going to be about that long. I can erase. So that is the length of my foot. Okay. And now the arms, if you're standing at attention, you have back here, you have the scapula, which is the shoulder blade, and you have the actual shoulder, rests here. Okay. If you were to roll your shoulders, if you can see me, kind of roll your shoulders around. Maybe you're shrugging. I don't know what's for dinner. I don't know what happened to my homework. That kind of thing. If you're rolling your shoulders around, that shoulder can roll anywhere around here. And that's important to know. So let's go ahead now, and the elbow will be back here. I'm going to put the arm back so it's not too confusing, and then straight down, because our guy's ready here. He's ready to draw on us, right? Our cowboy. Okay. His hand's a little bit behind him, so maybe it's more like he's standing at attention. Stand up. The other hand, maybe we'll have him drinking tea. In fact, I could just change it. Maybe this hand comes up, the elbow's here, and this arm comes out. I'm not accounting for foreshortening here. I wanted to just kind of see this in a one kind of two-dimensional plane where everything is very literal. So this line is the same as this line. Foreshortening, of course, would mean, because if his arm suddenly twisted out, which it could twist out, then you have foreshortening, and these lines would no longer be the same from this perspective. But I'll have it be flat. There's a hand. It's holding a little dish, and then the other shoulder is maybe up a bit higher. And a perfect example, here's going to be the cup. Not a half arc. I like to draw the object so I can kind of figure out where the arm's going to be. So if the arm is going to come and he's holding the cup of tea, maybe his elbow's down here. It's down there, and I'll bring it back up. And the hand will be holding it on the other side, because that's where the stem of the cup of coffee is, or the tea, or whatever he's drinking. All right, now he's a guy with too many arms, so I should erase this one. This kind of leads me into my next point about the robot skeleton. Anytime you see a figure out there, it's important to understand how he works. You got a guy jumping in the air, you got a guy running. I mean, you can start conceptualizing it. What happens when you're running? Really, your legs are just trying to keep up as you fall forward. So if my center of gravity is dropping me forward, then my spine is forward, but my head is up because I need to look forward and draw. Okay, and I'm just doing gesture drawings. Gestures are just trying to capture the energy. the essence of the simplest movement. The hip is going to be here, okay, and I'm going to draw it at an angle. Because this box now, if I've drawn it, this would be the back of the box and this would be the side of the box, which would mean that this shoulder is back here, so really the barrel is going to come across like this. So one shoulder would be back here as he's running, and the other shoulder will be up here as he's really trying to use momentum. Let's have him be a sprinter, so his hands are open, aerodynamic, and there we go, there's his hands. So my triangles have now been changed into these sort of weird chevron shapes. Okay, eyes are still forward, nose, mouth, okay? And if you get confused about which hand is forward and which one's back, it's alright. Just remember that the hip is here. So this is the one that's in front. This is the one that's in back. And so as you're running, you cross your legs. Your left leg goes up. Your right arm counterbalances so that you stay on a straight line, and your spine twists to make that happen. So this leg is going to be way up high. How high? Well, you can measure it now. Now you have an idea. Almost to the shoulder. It's pretty long. And then if you can make it realistic, the hand or the foot looks something like this. I'm going to bend the toes, and I'm going to erase that line. And the other one is back here. Same length. Let's just go with 2 dimensions now if you understand this figure. Same. And then he is running. There's our running guy. And since this triangle, now I can bend those toes. Since this is on the ground, he's running. Okay? If you want to make him super cartoony, you can make it more exaggerated. The knee comes up here. This leg is really out here. And the foot is up high. Let me erase. Again, I always try to make my if you're just joining and this is the first video you saw, I always try to make my corrections first. Because there's information there that if I erase, I won't have anymore. Even though there's still a faint outline. Okay, and then maybe the other one is really back here, and it's really like super cartoony. Okay. So now this looks like he's really exaggerated in motion. Right? And I can twist his head, and as his head twists, this is where the pivot point is. So that means that as it twists, it doesn't just twist like in the middle. His head actually comes over here. So now I can erase the head that I had. And maybe this dude's trying to like outrun the bullets now. He's like, no, run, I don't want to fight you, dude. I'm just gonna run. Cause like, I can run really fast. And there it is. There's our guy or girl running away. And this is the benefit of your robot skeleton. Your robot skeleton is going to help you to start understanding basic anatomy, a dynamic anatomy at a 6th grade level. I don't think there are a lot of 6th graders who will, beyond memorizing the stuff for a test, really understand or take the time to understand the skeleton. This is it. This is your, I call it the robot skeleton because it looks like a robot. It's simplified, and I'm really glad you guys were here to share this with me. And in another video, I will be taking a look at how mammals are in general, how mammals look, because this skeleton, if this guy were to fall forward and drop his cup, you know, you have the same sort of thing. You've got the mammal neck, at the back, the neck, the head. Dogs, cats, horses tend to have this sort of elongated mouth because they don't have thumbs, so they have to get a little more leverage with their teeth. You've got the patella here, and you've got that barrel shape for the, you know, this area here is this area here, and then you've got the hips back here. So if this guy falls forward, that's what happens to the hips. This arch here is because we're upright and it supports us. That's why it's good to have good posture and not slouch over, or at least that's what my mom always tells me. So you have and then the tail comes out here for a dog or a cat or anything. And then there's been a different evolution for cats and dogs. Their hands have changed. So with a dog, you have an elbow, you have a shoulder, comes down to an elbow, comes down here. This can be the 2 bones, and then the foot itself, the chain is longer. And then you have, sorry, that's not very accurate. But you have what looks like almost a 3rd joint. You have that shin. This is actually their shin up here. Down here, the paw starts, and you get a whole separation of bones. And for those of you who have dogs that have that little claw, enough thumbs, the claw kind of came up their arm. It's called the dew claw. The dew claw is actually with the thumb, and it comes out here. So that's how long the hand was. The hand evolved this way, and for us, it became this little guy. So with the back leg, again, you have the hips, got the back leg, the femur, and you have the knee, and you have the lower leg, and again you have this separation. This skeleton, as you can see here, this is for a canine, another canine, that's a dragon, we'll do that later. Alright, I have more in here. There's a horse, similar with the horse too. And an elephant. I mean, look at the size of the bones on the elephant. The bones and the size of the elephant, and the density of these bones, the size of these bones are there to carry the mass of this creature, because that is a heavy creature. As opposed to a cat, where all of these bones are really tiny, because cats don't weigh, or they shouldn't weigh, according to my vet, more than 20 pounds. 15 pounds, 12 pounds. Cats are very light, very nimble, very quick. And so all of these bones support that movement for the animal. I guess I just did it, didn't I? I was going to talk to you about this on another one. So in terms of mammals, this is mammal robot skeleton. And now you have an idea of how it works. You know, if you see a cheetah opening up and running, then that spine might really open up. The hips are back here, and the legs are doing that. And there's the torso, and the legs are really stretched out. Maybe he's jumping into a pool. Okay, the neck comes out, and there it is too. So now it's really stretched out. The tail will come out, help keep this creature, in this case I said it was a cheetah, help keep his balance. There you go. The last thing I want to show you is about bats. Bats are really cool, because bats, they have the shoulder, they have the elbow, they have this really long forearm, which is not the same. It's evolved into a wing, and then you have 5 fingers right here. You know, thumb, index, middle, ring, and pinky finger. Of course, there's a webbing, there's a mesh there to help it fly. So you can actually use this to help yourself. You know, you can give this person wings if you wanted to. You can give this creature wings. You could say, you know what, I'm going to just throw that in there, and I'm going to make, probably, if that's that forearm length, I'm going to make my wing here about that long. This is really long, and then now I've got a mythical creature, skeleton. And that is the benefit of this, because now you can work from the inside out, structure-wise. You have, like, this could be, maybe it's a Pegasus. Maybe it's a Pegasus unicorn. You know? There's all sorts of crazy things and cool things you can do once you understand the basic anatomies. And so, is it worth memorizing all of these little bones and everything? Well, the truth is, if you end up drawing these things a whole lot, you're gonna probably memorize them anyways. And if you're really interested in biology and becoming a doctor or nurse, you're probably going to know these too, and you just think it's cool. But the majority of people are not going to remember it, but everybody wants to draw in 6th grade. This is a great way to really take a look at it. Robot skeleton, guys. I hope I've helped to demystify some of how to draw a figure. This will apply to anime, this will apply to realism, this will apply to just coming up with cool things on your own. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.